Cypress Financial Group presents the Retirement Roundtable Podcast with John Scallan. Get more at cypressfinancial.net. Now, let's get to the show.
John, how's this weekend treating you?
Outstanding, my friend. No better way to start off a great Saturday morning than hanging out with a Hall of Fame Atlanta Braves announcer. I often want to ask, what's it like, right, to be loved and adored by tens of thousands of screaming fans? It has to be, what a life.
You know, well, let me find somebody who can answer that question for you, and we'll find the solutions to the problems that you may have, John Scallan. It is good to see you, as I called him, the Gulf Coast Angel a couple of minutes ago, because you are changing lives every single day. With that being said, before we get into it, we're going to have some good conversations. We're going to talk to some small business owners coming up in just a couple of seconds, talk a little bit about taxes and long-term care on the docket for today's show. But it is worth reminding our audience, reminding the community, you live here, you work here, play here. You are proud to call this area home. You don't fly in every other Thursday from Ohio, take a picture with the crew, and then fly back home. You are here for the families you serve, John.
Very well said, Mark. I'll save all that Learjet stuff for you Atlanta Braves starlets. But Mark, again, man, we live here. This is where I've always been, born and raised. Mark, every client that comes in the door, I mean, I've got an incredible, talented, very smart team of people surrounding us. The office is very tightly run, like a symphony, if I could put it that way. But Mark, man, I love this career. I love sitting across the table from clients. And Mark, I'm intimately involved in all case design, what's going on, the reviews. It's just something I'm really passionate about and very proud to do for a living.
The voice you hear of John Scallan, again, that is who you will meet. He will be working with you personally to customize that Cypress retirement roadmap. We invite you to reach out this weekend, right now, to get on the calendar to sit down with John, because this is the time of the year where things do start to get pretty busy. I mean, it's hot outside. It's still humid outside. Ooh. But, you know, the back half of the year is upon us right now. And now people with the kids and grandkids heading back to school, heading back to college, people are starting to get serious, pulling their feet out of the sand, going, all right, let's start putting some plans together. I had some questions about my 401k, thinking about my taxes. So now is when it gets busy, but we always save room on John's calendar specifically for our radio audience. That number is 504-732-1001. Again, 504-732-1001. You can call right now. We have a representative standing by. And John, you also work with the small business owners. There is a story about a gentleman in Georgia. His name is Gary. He owns an optometry practice. Now, he built it from nothing over 30 years. It's worth $4 million. And that $4 million is his retirement. That's the plan. So he sets his date and tells his wife they're finally going to do things they've been putting off. And then a national chain opens up a couple of locations right around his main office. John, from that situation, what happens to Gary?
Oh, I know exactly what happens to Gary. And, you know, Mark, I've seen a version of that man in this office more than once. I mean, different industries, but virtually the same afternoon. His $4 million practice is worth $2.5 now. He didn't lose a single patient the day it happened either. He didn't do one thing wrong. And then $1.5 million of his retirement, gosh, Mark, I'd say it just evaporated. I mean, Mark, that's not even the part that gets him. The part that gets him is he's got to go tell his wife they're not retiring next year. I mean, I feel for these gentlemen who are in this space. I mean, now he's working potentially 4 or 5 more years, and at 65 in a job he was done with those 5 years, that's what that chain really took from him.
I want to put this to the audience, to those listening to us right now going, yeah, but, you know, John, I don't own a business. I'm not a small business owner. I got respect for them. It's not my problem. But, John, isn't it? Because I know people whose retirement is basically all company stock or potentially rental property or the house. That's what they have their retirement built into.
You know, Mark, you just named the whole thing, the whole enchilada. I mean, Gary's problem was never, ever that he owned a business. It's simply that everything he had was riding on one thing. Let's think about company stock, potentially the same trap. Now your paycheck and your retirement depends on the same employer. Rental property in one neighborhood, again, potentially same trap. And if your plan has one buyer, that really isn't a plan. It's almost like a bet. I mean, it might be a good bet for sure. Gary made a good bet for 30 years, but a bet is something that can go the other way on a Tuesday for reasons that have nothing to do with him.
But what about me? Could it be fair to say this is kind of like my 401k? I mean, it drops as well. Everybody's retirement moves around.
Big difference, Mark. And here it is. When your account drops, it's usually because the entire market dropped. And you know what history says? The market makes a comeback. So you wait. In Gary's case, he can't wait. His didn't drop because the market moved. It dropped because somebody signed a lease, a competitor 4 miles away. Nothing else in his life went down that day. Just the one thing everything depended on. And every year that he waits for it to recover, he's a year older and still working. And Mark, that big box chain is still down the road, starting to nibble at his patience, taking more of the people that have been loyal to his firm. I mean, Mark, time heals the market. Time does not heal the big chain opening up a mile away from your life's work.
So in this hypothetical situation, or from this story about Gary, the small business owner, what is he supposed to do? Sell early? I mean, that sounds like telling a man to walk away from what he built before he's ready to really shut it down.
I mean, Mark, I wouldn't tell him that. No, not to sell early. Start earlier. That's an entirely different thing. I mean, if we're sitting with Gary at 55 instead of 65s, guess what? We have options. We have real moves that we can make that can really give him some diversification. There are retirement plans built specifically for business owners that let him pull real money out of that company every year and into his own name, tied to his social security number, money that is tax advantage while he's still working. Mark, that's how you turn one asset into two. And the one nobody thinks of, you can build your own buyer, that young associate he's training. How about structure it correctly over enough years, and he or she, they become the person who buys him out. Now he's not praying a stranger shows up with a checkbook, but every one of those moves takes years. It takes planning. It takes thought. Usually it takes a trusted advisor. I mean, at 65 years old, with that chain already open, some of those doors have already been shut.
So I think it's safe to say, John, that if your plan has one buyer, it isn't a plan, that is a bet. So here's a question for you. And it's not just for business owners. And I know you work with a lot of small business owners across the community. But if the one thing your retirement leans on lost a third of its value tomorrow, what happens to your retirement date? If you don't like that answer, that's a conversation worth having while you still got years to work on it. John and the team at Cypress Financial do this with owners and families all the time. We invite you to call today, 504-732-1001. Again, 504-732-1001. And John, we mentioned a couple of seconds ago about for some adults, the 401k will be a major source of income in retirement. And as we've seen with the economy and seen with the job market, some big companies have been bought out. Some big companies have been moved and absorbed by other companies. Some companies have had a lot of layoffs recently. So if somebody listening is in that boat, they've got a very solid 401k, but a little worried about what the future may hold regarding that retirement income and what could happen, what would you tell them?
Mark, great question. And I guess what I would say right up front, for many people, that 401k kind of ranks right up there with their biggest asset. It could be worth almost as much as the home, more than the home. This is a huge asset that you really have to take care of. I mean, first and foremost, if you've been putting money into this 401k for 2 or 3 decades and you haven't looked at the allocation, I mean, that is the first thing that I would do. Are you being too conservative? Are you being too aggressive? Do you have dead money sitting inside of that 401k that could really be working hard for you? So, step number 1, understand what you have, understand how it is invested so that if there is a time where, you get a pink slip, or maybe you're just over 59 and a half and you're ready to go. Maybe you're over 59 and a half and your plan allows what is called an in-service withdrawal, which simply means you can move money while you are still employed, while that 401k is still being the custodian is your employer. You can move money out of that plan into other custodians like Fidelity, like Schwab, like IRAs at, different financial institutions. Mark, there are even situations where if you got laid off pre-59 and a half, there are some rules that allow you to take distributions, at 55 and over from the 401k. Again, first and foremost, understand it. Understand the allocation. Make sure you're not paying too high of a fee schedule within these, and just be prepared should life happen, should there be a life event, that you're ready to really reallocate that money and have it go to work and support you for the next 30 years of your life.
John, most folks figure Medicare has the health care covered in retirement. And when the money runs out, Medicaid steps in. A lot of people assume that part doesn't cost them anything. I want you to hear this clip from Tracy Mitchell. She says, this happened to my family.
At a certain point, my father had a stroke. First, he had to go in a regular nursing home. My mom could not take care of him at home. Well, if you don't have a trust or you don't have certain things set up, you're going to have to pay the highest price, whatever the consumer price is, for that nursing home care. They were charging my mother $7,000 a month until she bankrupted herself, until she had spent down all of her assets, everything she had earned, her retirement. She had to spend that down to pay for his nursing home care. Then Medicaid kicks in. But guess what? Medicaid is not free. They let her live in the house. But when she died, they bring a bill to the heirs. They attach the house and say, you have to reimburse us for all the money that we spent taking care of him in the nursing home.
Golly, what a nightmare there. Jeez. The biggest part about that, if you noticed, he's the one that had the stroke, John. She's the one who ended up with nothing. And then they came after the house as well. Is that really how all this works?
Mark, let me give you a shocking statistic. And again, this is from the federal government. And it's simply that 70% of senior citizens at some point are going to need care. Now, let's get back to what she says. It is how it works. And let's talk about the phrase that she used. She said, spend down. That's the whole thing. And almost nobody knows it until they're living it. I mean, Medicaid isn't sitting there as a backup plan, Mark. It's what's left after the savings, after the investments, after the retirement that they spent 40 years building for her future. And here's what most married people don't realize until it's too late. The state doesn't look at his money and her money. It looks at their money. So his care event spends her retirement. Then at the end, they come looking to be paid back for whatever is left, which for most families is the house, the final piece of the inheritance or the legacy. I mean, the money didn't just leave, it kept leaving even after she was gone.
It's fascinating how tough it is for what happened to her, but 70% needing care, that's still a maybe. So, John, why would I spend real money today on something that may not ever happen to me?
Mark, here's what I would suggest to you. The absolute biggest hole in retirement planning is long-term care. I mean, Mark, the promise of AI is that people are going to live healthier longer, but that's not happening yet. I mean, from my perspective, we are certainly keeping people alive longer, but are they necessarily healthier? This is the big hole. Long-term care, nursing home care, in-home care. I mean, Mark, because of when you have to decide, there is a trap. Every option a family has, and there are several, but these have to be put in place while you are healthy and years before you need it. You can't buy the fire extinguisher after the fire starts. And by the way, for the spouse, it isn't maybe at all. That woman never got sick, never spent a night at a nursing home. And Mark, unfortunately, in this situation, it took everything she had.
Let me give that number real quick as we're having a heavy but informative discussion about long-term care right now with John Scallan. 504-732-1001. Talking about Medicare, Medicaid, long-term care. It's part of the Cypress Retirement Roadmap, personalized, customized just for you. These are the conversations you'll have. 504-732-1001. And John, I've heard people say that long-term care insurance is expensive and half of them get turned down anyway. So is this even realistic for a 65-year-old with just a couple of health issues?
Now that, my friend, is a great question. And Mark, quite frankly, the answer has changed a lot in recent years. Listen, traditional long-term care insurance is medically underwritten. They look at your health, and yes, plenty of people get declined. But Mark, there is a newer category out there. Sometimes they're called hybrids. Sometimes they're called asset-based long-term care, where you take money you already have set aside and you reposition it, and that money comes with a care benefit attached. Two things matter about those. Mark, first, qualifying can be a whole lot simpler. Sometimes it's a few health questions instead of a full workup, so people who never thought they'd get through traditional underwriting can still get something in place. Second, and again, this goes back to that asset-based coverage. It's called leverage, and leverage is the whole ball game here. $1 sitting in your savings account is $1 when care comes. That same dollar, positioned correctly, can turn into several dollars of long-term care. So Mark, you're not trying to save up $7,000 a month out of your own pocket. You're turning money you already have into a much bigger pile that only shows up if you need care. And Mark, if you never need it, the money's still there for you and your family.
So, John, help me understand this. It's not necessarily new money out of pocket. It's the money you already have, but it's now doing two jobs.
That's 100% spot on. That's exactly it. Now, what's available to you depends on your health, your age, your state, what you've got set aside. And honestly, some people have enough that they're positioned to handle this themselves. And if that's you, you deserve to know that instead of worrying about it for 20 years. I mean, Mark, I cannot tell you how many times we put together this financial plan, this complimentary deep dive into you, your future, your assets, and this long-term care potential issue is staring us in the face. Mark, but everyone should find out three things, right? What care actually costs where you live. That's number one. Number two, which of your assets are exposed if this situation happens and what happens to your spouse. Mark, I cannot emphasize this enough. That's not a sales conversation, Mark. This is talking belly to belly, eyeball to eyeball with people that really need to know what this situation is, what the problem is, and do you have the resources and the plan to address it?
You say resources, John. You can't buy the fire extinguisher after the fire starts. Long-term care and health care, can't buy it after you already get sick. So here's the hard one. If your husband or your wife needed full-time care next year, who pays for it? And what's left when it's over? Nobody wants to sit with that question, but finding out while you can still do something about it beats finding out the other way. John, real quick, not one, but 2 locations where we can find you.
Absolutely, my friend. Causeway Boulevard in Metairie, Florida Street in Mandeville, in your home, at a coffee shop, at your business, via Zoom, via Teams. Let's meet at a time and place that works for you. Our commitment is simple. We're going to treat you with courtesy. We're going to treat you with respect. And the first meetings, we're not talking about sales. We're not talking about products. We are talking about you. What are your hopes? What are your dreams? Do you have a plan? And then we talk about how can we help you live the life and the retirement that you've always dreamed of.
Insurance products are offered through the insurance business Cypress Financial Group. Cypress Financial Group is also an investment advisory practice that offers products and services through Impact Partnership Wealth, LLC, IPW, a registered investment advisor. IPW does not offer insurance products. The insurance products offered by Cypress Financial Group are not subject to investment advisor requirements. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Any reference to protection, safety, or lifetime income generally refer to fixed insurance products, never securities or investments. Insurance guarantees are backed by the financial strength and claims paying abilities of the issuing carrier. This radio show is intended for informational purposes only. It is not intended to be used as the sole basis for financial decisions, nor should it be construed as advice designed to meet the particular needs of an individual situation. Cypress Financial Group is not permitted to offer, and no statement made during the show shall constitute tax or legal advice. Our firm is not affiliated with or endorsed by the U.S. government or any governmental agency. The information and opinions contained herein provided by third parties have been obtained from sources believed to be reliable. The accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed by Cypress Financial Group. This radio show is a paid placement.
Please remember that converting an employer plan account to a Roth IRA is a taxable event. Increased taxable income from the Roth IRA conversion may have several consequences. Be sure to consult with a qualified tax advisor before making any decisions regarding your IRA. Please note it is not possible to invest directly into the S&P 500 index. This measure is provided solely as a gauge of overall market performance. Standard & Poor's, S&P, and S&P 500 are registered trademarks of Standard & Poor's Financial Services, LLC, S&P. The historical performance of the S&P 500 is not intended as an indication of its future performance and is not guaranteed.